All right, class. Well, it's September 3rd through the 8th, and we're talking about principles of effective online teaching this week. So happy Labor Day to those of you who have some time off today. For those of you who are working, well, happy Labor Day to you too, I guess. So anyway, this class this week is on principles for effective learning online, for effective online teaching anyway. And so you're going to be reading chapter 2 from the textbook, and pay attention to these 5 principles and make sure you understand these. Learner autonomy, active participation, collaboration and community building, authentic assessment and acquisition of 21st century skills, because these will be referred to in your assignment, and also they're important principles to know about online teaching and learning. So they'll help guide you through the rest of the activities for this week. One thing that you'll want to get started on really soon is the discussion. Remember that all discussions, you should have your initial post for those discussions by Thursday of that week. So by this coming Thursday, that would be the 6th, I think. Make sure you complete the first part of the discussion. And then the reason for that is because you can then respond to one another's discussion as you go along. So this week, though, it's not just to post something, it's actually going on to a Mooc, a massive open online course, and checking this out. This was kind of a trend, a forthcoming trend. I think that the enthusiasm surrounding it has kind of faded already, but it's still around. There are a lot of massive open online courses. The idea with the massive open online course is that anyone can enroll in this course and learn from it. And so it's set up in that way that anyone can learn and grow in those different areas. So you're going to choose a site, and you're going to spend a few hours exploring a single course featured on the site. And you can choose any one of these sites. It should not cost you any money, so if it asks for money, don't go there, but find something free. And then you're going to take some time going through some of the activities for the course, maybe learn a little bit on your own, something that you might have wanted to learn about. And then when you have reviewed the course, you're going to evaluate it according to Moore's 3 types of interaction: learner to content, learner to instructor, and learner to learner. And I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler alert here, is that with MOOCs, there was great promise, there was great enthusiasm for this type of learning coming out, this ability to reach hundreds of thousands of students in one class maybe. That's the idea with a MOOC. That's why they're called massive and open, because anyone can join, even hundreds of thousands of people. But so there was great enthusiasm about it, but some of these interactions are lacking if you think about it. There's a lot of learner to content in most MOOCs, but if you look at the learner to instructor, I mean, if you have 10,000, for instance, students in one class, you're probably not going to get a lot of learner to instructor interaction. And then learner to learner too might be lacking depending on the course. So just try to evaluate this MOOC experience that you've had by Thursday about these 3 areas: learner to content, learner to instructor, learner to learner, and include a paragraph on each of the 3 types of interaction, how well the MOOC course supports each type of interaction. And then you'll respond to 2 other students' posts and indicate the interactions that were similar or different to your course in your responses, because not everyone will choose the same course. In fact, there's lots of courses, so it's not likely that 2 of you would choose the same course at all. And then finally for this week, there is the Distance Education Principles activity. And this activity I did introduce before, but just to go over it a little bit more today about what the requirements are, you're going to actually remind yourself or reflect upon a past online learning experience that you have had. Not this class, but maybe a previous online learning experience that you've had. And then you're going to answer some questions about that experience. Let's see if I can get this to open up here. And so as you take time to go through and think about the experience, you're going to write about it a little bit and just reflect upon the experience and find out what you think about each of the items that you're prompted to ask about. And then I will respond, or I will review that and look for the rubric items that are on the bottom of that sheet, making sure that you responded to each one adequately for the assignment. Now, as we look at this assignment, though, a little more closely, let's go here. Pull out navigation there. Okay. So if we look at this a little bit more closely, down at the bottom it says develop a list of recommended practices for online distance education based on your experience and analysis of the online distance education experience. So that is something that goes beyond just telling about the experience that you've had, but based on your own experience, what are some general practices that could be implemented by a variety of online distance education instructors and designers who teach different subjects? How can they be good online teachers? Based on your experience with past classes, past online learning experiences, what are some key principles or key ideas or practices that you would tell a teacher to do so that they could be a good online teacher? And explain each one clearly so that a person who is getting into distance learning could read your paper, understanding, and know how to implement each practice. So again, just think of some simple things, practices, or general things that someone who is going to teach online for the first time should maybe do, and to be a good online teacher. So that's something that you'll talk about along with answering these other questions above, and then I'll grade it according to the rubric here. So that is what to complete this week. Back to the class we go, and just to look forward just a little bit, I think it would be helpful, is next week we have a Communicating with Students and Parents Digitally week. So you're going to have an assignment due that week, and I'll give you some email addresses for our class. I'll send those out sometime this week. Email addresses for our class so that you can complete this assignment. But what your job is going to be is to set up a way that they can communicate, that you can communicate about class items. You could use, it's not Remind 101 anymore, it's just Remind. You could set up your own course in Remind. You could set up a Facebook page, Twitter feed, Pinterest board, class website or blog, or another communication tools that allows for communication that's two-way and is approved by your instructor. And you're going to set this up and use us, the class members, as your students, so to speak. And then you'll reflect upon that experience. You could also use a couple of new tools that come to mind. It might be fun to implement or experiment in, include Snapchat or Instagram. You could set up a class Instagram page or a class Snapchat or something like that as well. But you're going to set that up next week, and then you're going to answer some questions about it, how it worked out, and so forth. So just be aware of that coming up next week. I'll give you the email addresses for our class before you have to get that set up, but that's something to look forward to next week as well. All right, well, I think that's everything for this week. So good luck getting started on this Labor Day, and or if you get started tomorrow or whenever you get started, but make sure you do complete that discussion by Thursday. Have a great week.